welcome to Seattle City Makers. I'm your host, Jon Scholes. Well, welcome everybody to our latest episode. I sit down with Dominique Davis, who is the CEO and founder of Community Passageways. Community Passageways is a Seattle-based nonprofit that Dom founded in 2017 that has a vision for zero youth incarceration. They work as a felony diversion and prevention program to reimagine and recreate an alternative to today's criminal legal system. Dom has grown up in Seattle, says he got his PhD in the streets, the University of Rainier and Henderson. He was a gifted football player, a coach, a personal trainer, and admittedly was making quick money and bringing harm to his community, but had a desire to give back through his coaching and personal training and begin to become a positive contributor to his community. He served as the co-director of Choose 180 from 2011 to 2016 prior to founding Community Passageways. Choose 180 is a program also working with youth in our community and was named in 2015 as the best new nonprofit by the Seattle Foundation and Seattle Met Magazine under Dom's leadership. Dom also is the CEO and founder of We Deliver Care, a public safety company he founded in Seattle as the Seattle Police Department's staffing began to be significantly reduced in 2020 and 2021. Dom has built a program serving nonprofit housing providers, providing de-escalation in a number of those projects and buildings, and also has recently deployed a team to 3rd Avenue in downtown Seattle to begin to bring more safety and intervention and services to people in need in the heart of our city. I talked to Dom about the work of Community Passageways, his vision for an alternative to our criminal legal system. We discuss We Deliver Care and their current work on 3rd Avenue to bring more safety and services to the heart of downtown Seattle. Hope you enjoy my conversation with Dominique Davis, the CEO of Community Passageways and We Deliver Care. Well, thanks, man, for doing this with us, making the time. Hey, there's traffic out there, you say?
Man, I'm so glad I don't have to make morning commutes, man. I'm happy.
We like traffic's back. We like traffic being back.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You got to look at it. I don't look at it that same way you look at it.
I'm pro-traffic.
Yeah.
We are pro-traffic around here.
You should be.
Yeah, remember the days when there was no traffic?
Yeah, the streets were just clear. Quiet. It's a ghost town.
It's weird.
Yeah, now we're back.
Yeah. Well, thanks for making time. I know you're busy. How you been generally?
Man, I've been busy, man.
You've been on the road?
A lot.
Yeah?
Yeah, trying to stay off the road so much, traveling. I'm trying to stay here because there's so much going on here that all that going back and forth is just not working out like I expected it to. It put Community Passageways on a nationwide platform, but at the end of the day, there's so much work here to be done that I need to be focused.
Yeah. Well, a couple things I wanted to cover with you. One, Community Passageways and a little bit of the origin story for those who aren't familiar. We Deliver Care, the other organization you've started. And then I want to get into your perspective and the work that your organization's been doing on 3rd Avenue. What we're seeing in the middle of downtown as you're, 6 months in or so to a project there to provide a lot of intervention and services. But first, Community Passageways. For those who don't know, what's the origin story? Why and how did you start it?
Basically, I was one of the co-founders of Choose 180 back in the day, back in 2010. 2009, we were doing like a think tank session, and the prosecuting attorney's office was like, hey, we need they brought together some community members to come to, and they're like, hey, there's a lot of Black and brown kids going through the juvenile justice system for misdemeanors, and we want to come up with a program to help divert them out, because once they come in, they end up going through the system, and then they go out and commit a more serious offense, and it just becomes a cycle.
Then they're in the felony system, right?
Yeah, now they're in the felony system. So we did that, and that was my way of getting my feet wet in the real work, like real organized work. I had been coaching sports for 20 plus years, and so I just had a passion to help the young people, because I was watching them go down the same road that I had went down when I was growing up, and me and my friends went down. So I was using sports as an outlet to be able to try to make some change in my community, because I didn't know what else to do. So going through Choose 180, doing that work, we had misdemeanor diversion. We were doing great work with the young folks that were getting referred to us. And then all of a sudden, I started realizing, as I was going through the court system doing this work, seeing the kids from my community still committing these felonies, getting these gun charges, shooting each other. Around 2015, 2016, we just had this explosion of violence, and a lot of young people I knew either got shot, killed, or went to prison for killing or shooting somebody. And it was just a cycle that I wanted to break. And I knew that just dealing with misdemeanors was not going to be the answer. And so I had to do something more, and came up with Community Passageways. It was prevention, diversion, incarceration, reentry. I wanted to create a new pipeline. That school to prison pipeline, that was like the new ringtone, right? Everybody was talking school to prison pipeline, school to prison pipeline. So I was like, you know what? We need to create a cradle to success pipeline. Let's create that. Let's create a pipeline that'll bust open the school to prison pipeline. Let's come up with some answers and quit complaining and come up with some answers. So Community Passageways was my way of trying to come up with some answers. And that's how I ended up creating it. There was where my office is there on Rainier Avenue, I think in 7 days, 5 young people got shot in 7 days.
Wow.
Three of them had died. One of the people that got shot was a 8-month pregnant young lady at a bus stop with her boyfriend. I had been working with them to help them get housing and get food and everything. I was working with them, and she had got shot in the stomach, and she lived, but the baby died, and it was heartbreaking. And then like a few days later, a 15-year-old kid got killed in broad daylight in a drive-by, and I was walking out to go coach my teams, and I seen this ruckus down there with the fire trucks, and I walked down there and I seen the kid laying there, and I was just like, you know what? I'm done. I got to do something now. I got to do something to deal with this now.
Who were the key people on the public sector side in the prosecutor's office and other places that you had to pitch and convince and cajole to kind of think differently about how to build a different system?
That was, so I came up with, I was doing misdemeanor diversion. Hey, let's do felony diversion. Yeah. That way we'll get to the young people, right? I want to strictly focus on felony diversion. And trying to sell that to people in that day and age, they were like, hey, we're just getting used to misdemeanor diversion. What are you talking about? That world does not exist yet. Like, let us get used to this, right? I'm like, no, we've been doing it for 5.5 years, 5 years. Like, it's time to make some changes. And so the key, I'm gonna say the main, I gotta throw him out here. Jimmy Hung was one of the main prosecutors that supported the vision for felony diversion because nobody, King County prosecuting attorney's office. He's still there. He's the head of the juvenile division. And I was pitching. I had to pitch it to judges, prosecutors, defense attorneys. I had to pitch it to everybody. And of course, defense was all over it, the public defender's office, they were all over it. So they were kind of a voice in the back halls for me, but nobody was buying into it. Nobody was ready for it. Like literally I was told, because I still had 1 foot in 180 and one foot trying to build Community Passageways. And so literally I was told that you don't want to mix those kids with these kids. And I was like, wait, what? You know what I'm saying? They're saying these are the same kids, same neighborhood. You
probably see them, on the streets.
Yeah, they're the same kid. I was like, what are you talking about? I was getting that I was getting pushback of, those kids are more dangerous than, right, and all that. And so I was like, no, that's not it. I see it differently. And I kept pushing. So Jimmy Hung said, so I went to Jimmy Hung and I said, hey, look, give me one kid. Just give me one kid. Let me show you that this can work. So I snuck a kid that had 3 felonies that was looking at going to prison. I snuck him into a 180 workshop. And I said, don't tell nobody why you're here.
Because it was supposed to be a misdemeanor workshop.
It's supposed to be misdemeanors, yeah. And then I started working closely with the kid. I started spending time with him and literally flipped him from not being in school for 1.5 years, living out here in the streets, looking at prison time, worked with him, got him back in school, paid him stipends, got him into driver's ed because he was stealing cars and all that stuff. Got him in the running start. He said he wanted to be a barber because he was cutting his own hair. He had bought clippers from the pawn shop. He was cutting his friend's hair. And I was like, okay, got him into barber school. Like it was just all this stuff. So within 6 months, he was on the youth advisory committee for the school district. He was at doing stuff for. A year later, he's flying out to D.C. to Maryland, representing the state of Washington on the governor's youth advisory committee. He won the Youth Achievement Award of the Year for the governor's office, and like literally all this stuff, just all these accolades and awards and everything. Graduated from high school on time, graduated from barber school, and all these things. Ended up getting a job, got his own business license, and had his own chair at the. Just I could go on and on, but through that process of making change in his life. All his charges were dismissed, so he never went to prison, never went to jail. And the prosecutor, one of the prosecutors over his charges, and Jimmy, they were like, Well, I'm coming and telling them everything that's going on. I'm telling them we shouldn't lock this kid up. And they're like, well, all I got is these charges right here. I don't have nothing, I was like, okay, I'll be back. So I went and got all the documentation from his baseball coach that he got back on the team, all the teachers, everybody, all his people that he's working with on the youth advisory committees. And I came back with this file, this portfolio, and said, here. He's like, this is what I need.
Yeah.
I've been repeating that process and polished that process up for the last 6 years. And we've been able to divert about 400 plus years of prison and jail time off the table for not just youth, but also in the adult system.
Do you know where that individual is today?
Oh yeah, I talked to his mom. I'm helping her with some stuff. I talked to his baby's mama, right? His daughter is my god kid. Me and him, we don't spend as much time together, right? But he just called me and hit me up, the other day, a couple
Is
weeks
he still
ago.
cutting hair?
Yeah, he's still cutting hair.
Yeah.
Actually, he has his own shop now.
Right on.
Yeah.
So this approach and your program specifically got caught up a little bit in the debate over who should be our prosecuting attorney last year at this time, and you were having to defend your approach and restorative justice and community passageways from folks raising questions and offering criticism, and one candidate for prosecutor in particular. What was that like for you?
It was a
being
headache.
in that process.
It was a headache, bro. It was a headache. Like I felt like my name was being dragged every day. Every time I turned on the news, I was hearing, it was just crazy how I feel like I was being attacked for trying to do good work. Right? I don't know if you understand that. I'm sure you probably do in your shoes, but where literally somebody trying to create a political platform to run off of and use you and your work that you do and in your community that you work in and with to try to build a platform of strict on crime. We're gonna come in. We're gonna flip this whole soft on crime approach, and we're gonna right. But so basically, going back to the indoctrinated mindset that that's been pushed on us, right? Of here's what safety looks like in our community: punishment, punitive. When we're actually that's going backwards because it's never worked. The more we never were able to arrest our way out of crime. It's never worked. So fighting that and going back and forth with that and stepping into the political environment, which I'm not a politician and never wanted to be in politics, but sometimes, there's an agenda that needs to be pushed by the community.
People bring you into that space.
And I get pulled in.
Yeah.
So when I seen the work we do get dragged through the mud, I had to step in and go toe to toe.
What do you say then to the people though that say, okay, Dom, I like what you're doing, I support what you're doing, but I need to see numbers, I need to see data. Is your response, well, we got the data, here it is.
Yeah.
And how is this working? And, so how do you communicate to people who want to believe in an alternative approach to what we've been doing in this country for decades and decades and decades?
The data speaks for itself. Yeah. Like I compare ourselves, I say, okay, compare the work we're doing in our data to the criminal justice system. Right? Let's compare the data. Let's see the recidivism rates, right? Let's see the success of who ends up coming out of what system successful. Let's look at that, right? Let's see what's causing more trauma, right? And so we just have those conversations. The criminal justice system can't compare to the restorative justice work. It's not even. It's like we're in the NFL and they're in Little League. You know what I mean? When you want to compare those two, it just doesn't work because we've been trying to do the same thing over and over again to open for different results, and it doesn't happen.
Would you say the basis of your approach is sort of trying to bring more nuance to understanding how people are, connected in their community, showing up, trying to get back on their feet, just bringing more nuance than what the court system sort of allows for of how somebody is trying to make their way from, some crimes they may have committed, but trying to figure out a different path and to understand that path and the impact on themselves, but also the impact on the community? Yeah,
what it comes down to, it's harder. It's easier to go sit in a jail cell and not have to work on yourself. It's easier not to have to change your life. It's easier just to go sit. I'm being punished. I'm gonna do my time. I'm gonna get out and try to figure out how to survive again, right? What's really hard is having to look at yourself and go, I have to make some changes now. And you have a team of people saying, it's time for you to make some changes now. And then taking you through a therapeutic process, helping you get a job, get your ID, get your social security, all that kind of stuff, get your everything, and then go through job training and go through, right? All that stuff is work. That's work on yourself. You're not sitting around just trying to figure out how I'm going to survive, what I'm going to do next to survive. What you're doing now is having to get up every day and look at yourself and go, okay, I got this appointment. Mm-hmm. Can I do this? Hey, big bro. They call me big bro. Hey, big bro, man, I don't know man, this is too hard. This job is too, Nope, you stay there. You're going to keep working. I'm going to send one of the ambassadors now. They're going to come talk to you and talk to your supervisor. Your ass is not leaving that job, right? We're going to work this out. If you leave this job, bro, we're going to have a problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're going to stay there. And then when you get off work, come meet me and we're going to talk about this, man, because you're not. So now you're being challenged. You're being pushed.
And you're building a system around somebody.
Yeah, I got a support system around them. Ain't nobody going to do that for you in the prison or in jail, right? You're just prisoner number 35, 62, 71, right? You're just sitting there.
Was there a moment for you in your own life history where you made that decision? Or do you remember what that, was there an event, a specific situation for you?
Yeah, man. When I self-educated, I picked up a book and started reading about the criminal justice system. That's what changed my mind. When I started watching Black powerful speakers speak about the history of the systems that are put in place for us to fail and fall into, and started educating myself, that's when I started waking up and going, wait, hold up. Because I was in the streets for real. Like I was out here pushing drugs at a high level. I was making money. I was doing right. I was flying here, flying there. I was buying cars and doing all this stuff, right? And literally, when I found out, oh my God, I got blood on my hands. Like this is not normal. The way I'm tearing my own community up, tearing my own people up. That was when I started waking up and it started making a change and going in a different direction. Looking at my own kids and going, I don't want my kids to look at their dad like this. I don't want to be glorified for this and that's how I go out. I don't want to die looked at as this person. I want to spend the rest of my life changing my community, helping my community, uplifting my community, doing whatever I can. And I can't sit back and wait for somebody else to do it.
So you've gone on from founding Community Passageways and the restorative justice work to We Deliver Care. What's We Deliver Care? Why'd you start it? And then I want to get into sort of how that organization is plugged into this new effort on 3rd Avenue. But for those that aren't familiar, what's We Deliver Care and why'd you start it? Why is it separate from Community Passageways?
Back when all the George Floyd protests were going on and we were out here in the streets, and really just going through this, a real revolutionary moment in our communities around the world, pretty much. Me and some of my family, my sister Stephanie, and we sat down and we talked, and we were like, the whole conversation with defund the police was, at top of everybody's mind, and it looked like things were going to happen, and that there was going to be a lot of police officers cut, and we were like, well, if they do that, what neighborhoods won't have police officers in them? Ours. They're still going to be on Queen Anne, Mercer Island. You know what I'm saying? They're still going to be in Magnolia, right? And Wallingford, but they ain't going to be in South Seattle. They're not going to be in the Central District. They're not going to. And so we said, well, instead of sitting back waiting to see what's going to happen and watch them probably go out and contract with some white security company, white-owned, some ex-military or some guys that couldn't pass the test to be on the police force, right? And now it'll cause a whole new problem, right? And so we said, why don't we try to do some of the work that we've been doing in Community Passageways with the community ambassadors, where we come in and we build relationship, right? And we bring services, and we are able to de-escalate situations before they happen. As law enforcement has a space, and we need law enforcement big time. I'm a fan of law enforcement because they're needed, because they have to come on the back end of violent crimes. But they can only respond. Right? We want to be on the front end. And that's what we did at Community Passageways. So we started talking like, let's start our own Black community safety de-escalation team, where we're out here in the community talking, building relationships, and we'll hire people from the community. So we don't have to really build relationships because we're already in the community. We already know the community. We know who's doing what and how people are moving. And let's get in front of crime instead of responding to crime. And then let's also be able to help some of the people that are out here struggling in the streets, homeless, struggling with homelessness, struggling with mental health, struggling with drug addictions, whatever it is. Let's try to help those folks too, right? And that could just be something we could build out and build off of the momentum that Community Passageways had already started.
And then you got some contracts to provide that service in some of the hotels that were serving folks off the streets during COVID, folks who were living on shelter that were brought in. Was that kind of how you scaled up We Deliver Care, and you were providing that service in hotels around the community? Yeah,
what we did, I had got a call. I went down to one of the hotels in the middle of the night. Somebody was escalated, having some issues. I had just pushed a button for the LLC like 7 days earlier. I ended up at this hotel in the middle of something where a young man was having a mental health crisis, and I had showed up to kind of see what was going on with some other people that were at co-lead and lead. And when I came there, I came into the environment, and while I was in the environment, I'm watching how this was navigating and realized this is all over a sandwich. This is all over a guy pulling a sandwich out of a refrigerator at one of the hotels that they were housing people at that didn't pay for it. And the people behind the desk don't have no de-escalation skills. They just escalated the guy. He ends up going berserk. They locked themselves in the office and called the police and called co-lead and all. And so now I'm watching this whole thing evolve in front of my eyes, and spent 4 hours there. All of a sudden, 7 police officers show up, right? And I'm like, oh, wait, hold up. Like, I got this. And I'm telling dude's going crazy, but I'm like, no, hey, I'll buy you a sandwich. I'll buy you another sandwich. I'll give you a gift card, like whatever it takes, and we'll get you some food. All the food you need, we're gonna take care of you. We'll get you some food. And just started de-escalating the situation and telling the police, we don't need you here. We got this. It's over a sandwich. Like, you guys don't worry about it. It's good, And so that situation was when I said, you know what? I think the service can be provided here. I just pushed a button, so I called and said, hey, I think I got something for you. You guys want to talk about a contract? And they're like, oh, this is great. And so now we have teams in I guess 7 different hotels at this point, and we've been doing that for 2 years. Yeah. They're there just to de-escalate and build relationships. And our teams are in that space just knowing they're part of the community. Yeah. It's a community. It's a small community, and they're part of that community, and they know everybody.
And so now you've taken that model with some other organizations and applied it to the situation that's been longstanding on 3rd Avenue, 3rd and Pine, 3rd and Pike, an area that's been challenged for decades, but certainly more so in recent years with the explosion of fentanyl and other issues, but an area that has always been challenging in downtown. You're 6 months in or so to deploying those teams along with other social service workers. What are you finding? What are you learning? What more do we need to help the folks who are there and help the situation overall become safer and healthier for the community?
When we got our shoulder tapped to ask us were we willing to do this project, we were like, yes, let's do it. Hell yeah. Let's go to work down here. Let's make it happen. And when we started hiring folks and taking them through training, it started getting more and more exciting, right? And so we just decided to jump the gun. They were trying to tell us to start later on the contract. They tried to push the start date back. And I was like, nope. We're going to hit the streets now. And so our teams hit the streets. We were out there every day and just building relationships, right? That was the smartest thing we could have did. And then I realized, we need to have something to give these people. Like, they need something now. Let's give them some food, some water, some socks, some sweatpants, some whatever, right? And so we just started giving them we started buying a bunch of stuff. And so that was a relationship building. And I realized,
trust.
Building trust. Yeah. And then cigarettes are like the golden key down there, right? And so we were down there doing that. And in that process, watching people see us every day, showing up every day. There used to people coming down there every blue moon, giving them something and then disappearing, and they'll see them again maybe or maybe not, right? When they seen the consistency, right, and then they got comfortable and started realizing we're not the police, started realizing we're there to serve, all the guards went down. Now, when I see where we're at in a short time, just a few months, we know every single person down there.
You built a list, of like 500 or so folks?
Yeah,
right?
about 500 people on this list, and we're getting them those services to our community organizations, our partner organizations. We're getting that info, and they're coming down now, and we started pushing hard on, no, we don't want to just put their names in this database and then wait for 3 weeks for somebody to show up or wait for a service to happen in 4 weeks. And so I mean, we were angry. My team was frustrated. We look like we're lying to these people when we tell them they can get a service and it's taking it forever.
Yeah.
And so we had to start pushing that. So now people are starting to move faster. Things are starting to open up more, right? And so it's awesome because I feel like not only are we helping this community downtown, not only have we embedded ourselves into this community, but we're also pushing some of these systems to move faster for these folks. And then we're building our own relationships now. My team now is sending people to places that we've been meeting and talking to get job training, to get housing, to get that is outside of the sector of our partners. Because my team loves the people that they're working with so much.
So they're having to get more creative to kind of work outside the traditional providers and what's available.
Yes. We're trying to buy a van. I haven't had time, but we're going to go buy a van because they were driving people in their own cars to different places and taking them to different shelters and different appointments and getting them opportunities. And now people have really stepped up to the plate, especially with the newspaper articles that came out and everything. But here's the heartbreaking part is when we've been administering Narcan, I don't know, we're probably 25, 30 people. I can't even count now at this point. I don't know what number we're at this point, but I know over 20 for sure. Where people were literally, we had to bring them back.
Yeah.
Right? They're doing CPR and Narcan. Had to bring them back. And then when they get there too late, they're literally heartbroken. Like they try, right? And they try, and when they're not successful. And so that trauma that my team has been carrying in this short few months, and how you have to shake that off and just get back out there. And then they're building these connections and relationships, and then all of a sudden somebody is gone and they die, and it's a lot of trauma, man. So the therapeutic side of it, making sure that they're mentally, they're getting taken care of mentally is another dynamic that lifted up out of this project. But we're doing really well at this point.
And of that, the 500 or so folks that you all have touched, I think it was 90% or so were unhoused.
Oh, yeah.
Were you surprised by that number? Did that make sense to you? I mean,
I wasn't surprised at all. I think other people were surprised. I don't think we were. We're not. I wasn't surprised at all.
And what more do you need? What more does your team need down there to be successful? And do you feel like you've got the right partnerships from the city, the county, the right investments to meet the needs of the folks that are spending time out there?
When you look at the data and how effective we've been able to be in this space doing this work, I think it's time to really invest. It's time to stop throwing kibbles and bits at this. I know there's millions and millions of dollars being thrown in all these other directions, right? But it's time to I want to have a focused area. I think this downtown project should be a catchment zone where we sit down and really take this pilot to the next level to show how this collaboration can be way more effective if more resources are poured into it and we can build more capacity, right? To be more effective and we can spread it throughout downtown eventually, where we're not just on the 3rd Avenue corridor, but we can start being all over downtown, everywhere. So I think it just needs to have some more attention to it where the attention's there. It's just more resources need to be poured into it. And I think we want a building, man. We keep talking about we need 20, 40, 60 rooms is what we need, right? And we need to be able to have a whole system of care in that facilities. And I think that'll take everything to the next level.
So fentanyl's a big part of what's happening out there and keeping people outside and both in the selling, using, the heartache we see of people overdosing. What's your perspective on this crisis that day by day just seems to get worse and worse?
Man, I look at it as the crack epidemic, right? Only difference is you didn't die from using crack, right? I mean, some people, it caused death in other ways, but, and now this new drug, this zombie drug, this trank is scary. And my perspective is what you asked me. What is my perspective? My perspective is from being an ex-drug dealer, right? And then knowing that selling drugs was all about making money, but now you have a drug that you're selling to people that kills them. I can't add those two up.
Right.
Like you're killing your customers.
Right.
So how are you making money when your customers are dying, right? And you're literally selling poison. And so now it's more of a life or death situation than I've ever imagined or seen. I thought crack was bad. I know we still are, the black and brown communities around the nation are still trying to recover from that crack epidemic that tore us up. it killed us in so many other ways, economically, socially, politically. It annihilated us, right? And we were already at the bottom of the totem pole and all those factors. And then it just knocked us to the dirt. I'm watching this. This drug has no color behind it, no ethnicity, no economic status, no nothing, no education status. It's just coming after everybody. I'm in restaurants and people were like, oh yeah, our son is, and I'm in Mercer Island, people are talking about it. I'm in Shoreline, people are talking about it. I'm in the hood, people are talking about it, right? And now it's being put in everything. It's not just the blues and not just the actual fentanyl drug, but fentanyl and trank is being put in cocaine. I'm hearing it's coming up in weed. I'm hearing people are dying from just, stuff that they thought that was okay or was cool. My thoughts on how to deal with it, I have no clue. But I do know that the only way we're gonna ever get anywhere with it is by treating people with love and empathy and respect, right? Because everybody's doing these drugs and self-medicating because of the trauma or the pain and that they're trying to cover up. There's something that they're dealing with and every person that we run to out in the street, there was 3 young people that we connected with their family, right? In the last few months that wanted to see their mom, wanted to be back, right? And so we had to do some research. My team did this on their own and then connected people back to their mother or their dad or their family, right? And so, but they were out there, right? There was trauma, there was pain, there was an issue, and it took for them to get to a point to be reconnected with the people that loved them. The only way we're gonna conquer this drug is through love, period.
Well, Dom, we conclude our podcast with the question of your perfect Saturday in the city of Seattle. You get to design the itinerary. What are you doing on your perfect Saturday as we wrap up here?
I am sitting on the beach at a outdoor sports bar watching football and having a cocktail and eating a big juicy burger. And I'm there all day watching college football all day.
I love it. On a beach.
On a beach. I can see the sand, I can see the water. I got a big outdoor TV.
Are we in Seattle?
I know. Right now I'm in Maui.
We should have that place in Seattle, though.
We should.
An outdoor sports bar. Maybe on Lake beach. Union or something.
Yeah.
With some big TVs.
Yeah, we should. We don't have that.
We need higher quality sports bars in our city. Do. No offense to the ones that exist.
No, but
I don't think the one you talk about exists yet.
No, I haven't seen it here.
We got a business proposition here.
Yep, there we go.
I like that program. Well, thanks, Dom, for making time for us, for what you're doing in the community, for your conviction and leadership, for sharing your story and all the people you're helping.
Thanks. Appreciate you and all the stuff you do too, bro.
Well, hope you enjoyed my conversation with Dom Davis, a terrific leader in our community. Appreciate all the work that Dom is doing at Community Passageways, and we deliver care to support youth in Seattle and across King County. And I appreciate Dom's leadership, I should say, as well, on the board of the Downtown Seattle Association. It's great having Dom a part of our downtown community, and great to have his service and voice on the board. I want to close out, as I do each and every episode, with a recommendation, in this case, a few recommendations of things you got to check out in downtown Seattle, things you shouldn't miss. One is a new furniture store, Sundays, that's come to the corner of 1st and Spring at the base of the Alexis Hotel. If you are into modern furniture and neutral palettes like I am, if that speaks to you, then you will love Sundays. So go check out Sundays, great new furniture store down on 1st Avenue, one of the great streets, I think my favorite street in downtown. And number 2 is a new temporary art exhibit up on First Hill at the Museum of Museums, the museum founded by Greg Lundgren, who's working with a group of individuals to reimagine Bumbershoot. Greg opened the Museum of Museums several years ago now and has a temporary exhibit called Soft Touch up there now running through August. And it's described as an immersive tactile survey of soft sculpture and textile art that features over 40 artists from the Pacific Northwest and beyond. And you are invited to sit, stand, or recline in a gallery cushioned by a patchwork of futon mattresses, shag carpets, and curtaining as you explore work that interweaves themes of identity, humanity, and natural ecosystems. So go check out Soft Touch, running through August, temporary art exhibit at First Hills Museum of Museums, and then go have a drink at the wonderful Hideout Cocktail Lounge right there as well. You can make an afternoon of it. And then on May 24th is Food Truck Fest at Westlake Park we are hosting a bunch of food trucks and live music and games. Perfect for a lunchtime break beginning at 11 a.m. on May 24th, Food Truck Fest at Westlake Park. So come check that out. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on this episode of Seattle City Makers, presented by the Downtown Seattle Association, with support from James Cito and production by Spark Creative.